This video is in reply to a question from Alex Brooke. He asked, how can I disable or destroy a tank using only household materials? I'm not sure why he's asked this question, but I guess the kind of scenario, maybe teaching English in Southeast Asia, and there's a maybe military coup, and tanks out in the streets or in the countryside or whatever, might be something you need to deal with. Typically when you work at an English school, you learn about teaching English vocabulary and kind of classroom management and stuff, but there's not a lot about guerrilla warfare, which is a bit of an oversight, really. Yeah, obviously the answer depends on the tanks you're up against, what you have available in your household, and particularly the terrain. Although I know Alex quite well, I've never visited his household, so I doubt he has a kind of heavy weaponry or anything like that. There's a lot of myths, I think, around tank killing. This all the sort of Hollywood movie stuff of, you know, snipers kind of finding a weak point on the tank, you know, shooting at the tank tracks. I mean, half in there's kind of it's like Barrett special purpose weapon, which is like a 50 caliber very heavy rifle. I mean, that won't affect a tank track. You need 20mm cannon to have any effect, and I doubt Alex has access to that. Kind of myths you hear, like people, you know, they say, oh, you can jam metal in against the kind of tank track and the idler wheel, which is like the wheel that drives the Caterpillar track. That's kind of a myth. If you have like a big chunk of train track and can lever that into position, that's gonna have a chance of damaging it. But the Caterpillar tracks on tanks are incredibly heavy duty, and they're designed to, you know, be unaffected by people jamming in bits of metal and things like that. Smoke, again, is sort of it's ineffective against tanks, generally because modern tanks have devices for seeing through smoke. The kind of times when it does work against tanks are when you have things like burning tyres and stuff that are quite close to the tanks, because then things like, well, the smoke is hard for the tank crew to see through using just regular visual observation, but also the heat kind of bleaches out the infrared, passive infrared and active infrared systems. So yeah, burning tyres is the way to go with that, really. You know, being realistic, you're not going to have any chance against a whole bunch of tanks, really. All throughout history, people who have managed to take out tanks have you know, taken out an individual tank, a single tank, and it's almost always done by trapping the tank in conditions it doesn't want to be in. So tanks do very, very badly on kind of marshy ground, for example. Tanks can be trapped when you have like roads going through, like roads with embankment on both sides. You can make anti-tank obstacles, for example, felling trees, so that you have trees kind of falling down, preferably 45-degree angle towards the expected direction of the enemy. But that's a serious amount of work, and yeah, you obviously have to have some way of attacking the tank once it's trapped there. Other things, I mean, big ditches, but you want a ditch kind of 3 meters deep, really, with 30-degree sides, and that's going to slow a tank down for possibly up to 5 minutes. I mean, the tank will definitely get through it, but may take 4 or 5 attempts. So again, the idea is that you would be laying in wait. And obviously, tank crews, tank commanders know all this kind of stuff. But so when they see a big ditch in the road, they're not going to leisurely and kind of blindly go into it. Main armament on the tank has a lot of dead space, so you need to main armament on a tank needs to be kind of targeting things at absolute minimum of like 20 meters away, and the visual range of tanks again starts at like something like 6-10 meters depending on the tank. So people hidden up close, kind of in a blind spot, although obviously modern tanks have infrared imaging and that kind of thing. Interestingly, a lot of kind of the smaller military anti-tank weapons are ineffective in kind of single shot against modern tanks, especially from the front. So I mean, from the front is where there's a lot of extra armour there, and a single round from a light anti-tank weapon is not going to be enough. Tanks now have, not just a very strong depleted uranium armour, but now there's these explosive armour, so that when an anti-tank round hits it, kind of a shape charge round, a penetrating round, where where there's like a copper cone with explosives packed behind that, and the idea is to inject like a shot of molten copper through the armour. The explosive armour just blows up and knocks that kind of stuff away. But then again, Southeast Asia may be up against older Russian tanks or whatever, and armoured personnel carriers. It might have a chance depending on what things are available to you. Tanks don't like fire. A lot of tank crews complain that tanks are not as waterproof as they claim to be. Modern tanks use positive pressure, so there's kind of positive air pressure inside, which may keep out the water, but tank crews often complain about leaks in heavy rain, which shows that liquid accelerants are going to get through there. But you don't want to climb on top of a tank with a big barrel of gasoline and try and pour it in. Gelled flame fuel is obviously a good option if you can dump it on. Gelled gasoline, gelling it with soap, for example, or egg white vinegar, napalm B, which is gasoline with a polystyrene dissolved into it. Very unpleasant stuff. But the real weakness of tanks is how much time the tank crew spend outside of the tank doing maintenance work, refueling, replenishing ammo, that kind of thing. Tank crews spend a lot of time outside of the tank. When military are killing tanks, tanks are very, very easy to kill in modern warfare using aeroplanes. Fire your, I don't know, whatever A-10 tank buses use. They use like maybe Maverick, air-to-surface missiles, stuff like that. and then killing tanks with other tanks, and then killing tanks with personnel kind of mounted anti-tank weapons like Milan, that kind of thing. Multiple hits from light anti-tank weapons, particularly from the side. Sniping as well, and then you often getting the tank crews. I mean, I think, as non-military people, we kind of you imagine like a tank driving around with all the hatches closed and stuff, and kind of completely invulnerable. But the reality is, even the modern tanks. The tank crews prefer to drive around what's called unbuttoned, so kind of hatches open, because of that visibility issues, because of, despite what the arms dealers claim, tanks are often, very uncomfortable in hot environments. There may be air conditioning and stuff, but I think there are issues with that. So, tank crews prefer to be going around unbuttoned, and the military will use snipers to take out commander or whatever. It's unrealistic to imagine you can have any chance against a lot of tanks. What has been proven throughout history is that groups of people do have a chance against an individual tank, especially in terrain that the tank does not want to be in. So there's sort of urban environments where the tank's forced into a choke point, and there's possibility there of using things like I mentioned, gel flame fuels that you might have access to. Out in the countryside, you can do things like tank hurdles, so using kind of felled trees on a hillside or whatever. A tank won't be able to pass that. Tanks will be able to go over felled tree on flat ground, but they have to kind of do it slowly. Posts work quite well. You want sort of about a metre to a metre and a half of the post sticking out of the ground, and about a metre and a half, 2 metres under the ground, and you need a lot of them, and you want random heights, random spacing on a road or whatever. That's a serious amount of work to put that in place, especially if you don't have access to the tools that the military would use. Tanks unfortunately are one of those weapons that are very, very good against civilians. Like many of the military weapons, they're not very good against the military, but very good against civilians. So if you're asked of going to be teaching English in Southeast Asia or whatever, make sure that the English school provides some good training in asymmetric warfare, guerrilla warfare, that kind of thing. Okay, thanks for listening. Hope you found that useful, and good luck against the tanks.